I meditated when I was alone and prayed to God to guide me to the right religion and to forgive me if what I was doing was wrong. I had never had any contact with Muslims. The only people I knew who claimed that Islam was their religion were the followers of Elijah Muhammad, who were referred to by many as Black Muslims, or the Lost Found Nation. It was during this period in the late 1970s that Minister Louis Farrakhan was rebuilding what was called the Nation of Islam. I went to hear Minister Farrakhan through the invitation of a work colleague, and it was an experience that would change my life dramatically. Never in my life had I heard a black man speak the way he did. I immediately wanted to arrange a meeting with him to try to convert him to my religion. I liked to evangelize in the hope of finding lost souls to save from hell, no matter who they were. After graduating from university, I started working full-time. I was reaching the peak of my ministry. Elijah Muhammad's followers were becoming more visible, and I appreciated their efforts in trying to turn the black community away from what was destroying it from within. I began to support them, in a way, by buying their literature and even meeting with them to talk. I attended their study circles to find out exactly what they believed. Although I knew that many of them were sincere, I didn't buy the idea of God being black. I disagreed with their use of the Bible to support their position on certain issues. This was a book I knew very well, and I was deeply disturbed by what I considered its misinterpretation. I attended Bible schools with local support and became well versed in various branches of biblical study. After 6 years, I moved to Texas and joined 2 churches. The first church was led by an inexperienced and not very knowledgeable young pastor. My knowledge of the Christian scriptures by this time had developed into something abnormal. I was obsessed with biblical teachings. I began to delve deeper into the scriptures and realized that I knew more than the current leader. As a show of respect, I left and joined another church in a different city where I felt I could learn more. The pastor of this particular church was very knowledgeable. He was an excellent teacher, but he had some ideas that were not the norm in our church organization. He held some liberal views, but I liked his indoctrination. I would soon learn the most valuable lesson of my Christian life, which was, all that glitters is not gold. Despite its outward appearance, there were evils going on that I never thought possible in the church. These evils made me reflect deeply, and I began to question the teaching to which I was so devoted. Welcome to the real world of the church. I soon discovered that great jealousy prevailed in the ministerial hierarchy. Things had changed from what I was used to. Women wore clothes that I considered shameful. People dressed to attract attention, usually from the opposite sex. I discovered how much money and greed played a role in the operation of church activities. There were many small churches in difficulty, and they called us to hold meetings to help raise money. I was told that if a church didn't have a certain number of members, I shouldn't waste my time preaching there because I wouldn't receive much financial compensation. I explained that I wasn't in it for the money and that I would preach even if there was only one member present. And I would do it for free. This caused a stir. I began to question those I thought had wisdom, only to discover that they had put on a show. I learned that money, power, and position were more important than teaching the truth about the Bible. As a student of the Bible, I knew very well that there were errors, contradictions, and fabrications. I thought that people should be exposed to the truth about the Bible. The idea of exposing people to these aspects of the Bible was a thought supposedly attributed to Satan. But I started publicly asking my teachers questions during Bible classes, which none of them could answer. None could explain how Jesus was supposedly God and how, at the same time, he was supposedly the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit wrapped into one and yet not a part of the Trinity. Several preachers finally agreed that they didn't understand, but that they should simply believe. Cases of adultery and fornication continued unpunished. Some preachers were caught with drugs and destroyed their lives and the lives of their families. The leaders of some churches were found to be homosexuals. There were even pastors guilty of committing adultery with the young daughters of members of other churches. All this, coupled with the failure to receive answers to what I thought were valid questions, was enough for me to seek a change. That change came when I took a job in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.